There are a lot of romanticized moments in this popular period piece, but that doesn't mean it's totally historically inaccurate. Welcome to MsMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 facts Downton Abbey got right. Before we begin, we publish new content every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. For this list, we'll be looking at the historical events, attitudes, or elements that were accurately portrayed on the show. Be warned, there will be spoilers.
Melon spoon, grapefruit spoon, jam spoon.
Number 10. The Titanic.
I thought it was supposed to be unsinkable.
Every mountain is unclimbable until someone climbs it, so every ship is unsinkable until it sinks.
The first episode of the series begins in 1912 and sees the household waking up and getting ready as usual, only to receive news of perhaps the most famous nautical accident in history, the sinking of the RMS Titanic.
I understand most of the ladies were taken off in time.
You mean the ladies in first class? God help the poor devils below decks.
Over 1,500 people of varying classes perished, but Downton Abbey made the tragedy personal for the Crawley family when they discovered that Lord Grantham's cousin and heir presumptive to the earldom James Crawley and James's son Patrick, Lady Mary's fiancé, both died in the accident.
Does this mean I'll have to go into full mourning?
My first cousin and his son are almost certainly dead.
It's this galvanizing event that sets the whole drama in motion. While fictional here, for some aristocratic families, loss of heirs would have been a real problem in the aftermath. Number 9. World War I.
Because I very much regret to announce that we are at war with Germany.
The Great War was like nothing the world had ever seen. All of Europe became locked in a war of attrition, and soldiers who managed to survive the grueling trench warfare were irreparably changed both physically and psychologically.
I can't go back, no matter what.
No one's asking you to go back, Mr. Lang.
Though Downton Abbey skips years in the war, it does accurately show the harrowing effects on soldiers. And luckily for productions looking to portray the First World War, people like Taff Gillingham exist. A fan and stickler for history, he actually has trenches in Ipswich that he rents for accurate portrayal on screen, and also taught the actors how to load ammunition properly. And Downton was even accurate off the battlefield. Highclere Castle, the real-life location, was in fact involved in the war effort, though as an actual hospital, rather than a convalescent home. Number 8. Views on technology.
Why didn't you put the lights on? I didn't. Well, it's electricity, not the devil's handiwork. I'll have to get used to it sooner or later.
While there was a great deal of optimism regarding new inventions throughout the 19th and 20th centuries, many household technological advancements were treated with a great deal of skepticism, at least by the upper classes.
I couldn't have electricity in the house. I wouldn't sleep a wink. All those vapours seeping about.
Even Cora won't have it in the bedroom.
Electric lights were seen as gaudy, telephones were impersonal and confusing, and mechanical equipment excessive noise. Even cars, when they first showed up on the scene, were thought to be ridiculous. However, lower classes tended to like new technology as it made their lives easier. And for that reason, upper classes considered the advances crass.
That people should waste hours huddled around a wooden box listening to someone talking at them, burbling inanities from somewhere else.
But surely now with the latest news and everything, and it must be a boon for the old. What do you think, Bates?
Old habits die hard, especially when attached to the lifestyles of old money.
Sometimes I feel as if I were living in an H.G. Wells novel.
Number 7. Fashion. The fastest way to immerse an audience in a historical drama is with accurate costume and set pieces, and the costume designers did a great job. Spanning from 1912 to 1925, the women's clothing especially had to be spot on.
Oh, it's very chic.
Can we see it with the hat?
Be it subtle, as with changing hem and bust lines, or dramatic, like when Sybil wore harem pants, female fashion tends to change rapidly based on social attitudes and desires. However, while the threads were for the most part top-notch, it's been noted by some that everyone, servants especially, would have been dirtier, even in a manor house.
You weren't here and I didn't like to touch the curtains with my dirty hands.
Despite that, they did maintain accuracy by not washing the costumes, according to Sophie McShera, who played Daisy. Number 6. Royal scandals.
Don't you see whom he's with? The Prince of Wales.
Be honest, everyone loves a good scandal. Royal scandals were the celebrity gossip of the time, And seeing as some of the upper classes might know some of the royals involved, it was even more salacious.
Do you remember that letter we were laughing about the other night?
Yes?
Well, the thing is, when I got home, it was missing.
In season 4, a letter from the Prince of Wales, the future, very temporary King of England, to his lover and mistress Mrs. Frida Ward is stolen, and fears of a scandal are ignited.
Do you want the heir to the throne to be lampooned across the world with a story that will never sleep, even when he's safely crowned and married to a foreign princess?
King Edward VIII would abdicate the throne in 1936 for a different socialite, Wallace Simpson. But the earlier scandal that he'd been having an affair with the married Mrs. Ward was well known by the higher class, and there were in fact letters between the two.
Yes, the prince is never short of popularity.
Number 5. Downstairs romances. Downton Abbey focused not just on the aristocrats, but of the lives of the servants as well, which naturally included their romantic lives. It's not impossible to fathom that servants, both on the show and in real life, would potentially spend a lot of time together and maybe sleep together. And yes, it did happen. But not everyone was as liberal as the Crawleys. A liaison between staff members of a great house was grounds for firing most of the time.
It therefore gives me great pleasure to say you are now husband and wife together.
Number 4. Class struggles.
What a harsh world you live in.
We all live in a harsh world. But at least I know I do.
The truth is that the early 20th century was a bad time to be anything but rich. The divide between the upper and lower class was stark, and for lower classes there was virtually no way up. Before unions, people toiled for long hours, and were frequently exploited. All around the world, resentment was stirring in the working class for the upper classes who had it better simply by being born. We see this in several episodes, especially post-World War I.
It seems marvellous to me you leave service, go into government. Now you're married to a prominent man. 20th century story.
The rise of socialism at this time grew out of a desire for a more balanced and just society. And it's no surprise some of the servants began to have real ambitions.
But I'm a socialist, not a revolutionary. And I won't always be a chauffeur.
Number 3. Women's rights.
And from what her ladyship said, it sounded as if you support women's rights.
I suppose I do.
Women's rights are still debated today, but in the era of Downton, women couldn't vote or have any true life outside of marriage.
I was only going to say that Sybil is entitled to her opinions.
No, she isn't until she is married. Then her husband will tell her what her opinions are.
In the Commonwealth, example Canada, women weren't even recognized as persons under the law until 1929. The birth control movement only began in the 19th and 20th centuries, and several women on Downton Abbey depict the stigma associated with it. Whether it's Lady Edith having an illegitimate daughter and figuring out how to hide her, or Lady Mary sending her maid Anna to get contraceptives, after reading a book by Mari Stopes on the subject.
One of these.
I can see you're married.
I am married, yes.
But you don't wish for any more children.
That's it. That's right.
Downton was careful with its depiction of female characters, giving them relatable problems, but grounding them in history.
And be the first step of the journey to women's equality.
If you're so keen on women's rights, let a woman speak.
All right, stop there.
Number 2. British marrying rich Americans.
24 years ago, you married Cora against my wishes for her money. Give it away now. What was the point of your peculiar marriage in the first place?
If I were to tell you she'd made me very happy, would that stretch belief?
In the Gilded Age, marrying for money had become a regular practice in aristocratic households. Lord Grantham married his American wife Cora Levinson because she was a rich heiress. This became very common, as many of the titled lords really had no money from years of frivolous family spending, selling off land, and just generally the diminishing power of Europe. In America, manufacturers and industrialists were making fortunes. Of course, not everyone was happy about unions between the British and Americans.
It seems so strange to think of the English embracing change.
Those who came from old money, like the Dowager Countess, found it low class. And the women who married in were surprised to find their new homes lacking the modern conveniences they enjoyed, like heat.
You Americans never understand the importance of tradition.
Yes, we do. We just don't give it power over us.
Number 1. The entail.
The entail must be smashed in its entirety, and Mary recognized as heiress of all.
There's nothing we can do about the title.
Ah, the entail, the discriminative law that served as the catalyst for the entire show.
I still don't see why I couldn't just refuse it.
There's no mechanism for you to do so. You will be an earl. You will inherit the estate.
Good thing that such sad, unfair legislations are a thing of the... Wait, what? It still exists? Oh. On Downton, Robert the Earl of Grantham has only daughters, and therefore, because of their gender, they're excluded from inheriting the earldom as well as Downton itself. This particularly affects his eldest daughter, Lady Mary.
But I thought Lady Mary was the heir.
She's a girl, stupid. Girls can't inherit.
While the entail, or fee-tail, was technically abolished in 1925, it still continues in a certain capacity. In 2013, however, the British Parliament tried to pass the Equality Titles Bill, also known as Downton Abbey Law, yes, really, to end the gender discrimination and allow equal succession. The bill did not pass.
I don't believe a woman can be forced to give away all her money to a distant cousin of her husband's. Not in the 20th century, it's too ludicrous for words.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out these other great clips from MsMojo and subscribe for new videos every day.